This is Don't Panic, episode number 20, recorded November 4th, 2013. On Android Fragments, Blackberry Implosion, and the NSA leaks everywhere. Good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Don't Panic on the Gadgets, Internet, and You, the best technology podcast on Earth because we said so. This week, coming to you with an exciting development, that's right, products. This is where you can get officially licensed Don't Panic merchandise, starting with this high-quality Don't Panic coffee mug. You can be an owner of an original piece of officially licensed merchandise for only one easy payment of $39.95 plus processing and handling. On one side, the high-quality, semi-color graphic Don't Panic. You can own a piece of that. And then on the other side, it's got our slogan, on Gadgets, the Internet, and You, and then our website, don'tpanic.io. And then on the bottom, you know it's officially licensed because we say it's officially licensed merchandise. So there you go. Email us, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com to get your officially licensed, high-quality, one-of-a-kind Don't Panic mug. We've got merch now. That's how you know we made it. Outside of that, good news, even better news, because we have the two tech luminaries here along with me to discuss all the happenings in tech this week, and we're going to start it off with Colby Rabideau. Colby, how we doing?
Pretty good. I don't know. I'm about the same as last week, I think, which is good. I'm still happy about the Firefox phone.
I don't think you'll ever get off that high.
I don't think so.
And, of course, Dan Miller. Dan, how's it going?
Howdy. I'm doing swell.
It's an exciting week in technology, but we say that every week, so you can't really tell if we're telling the truth, but we're going to say it anyway. We've got a lot of...
It means that every week's an exciting week in technology.
It is when we're here, Dan. It is when we're here. And I'm happy to say that, and I want to let everyone out there know that we do this show live every single Monday night, unless Colby's on a plane and we're all sick. But that's rare. That only happened that one time. Otherwise, we're here every week, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, and you can get all the greatest and latest, our live, our subscribe to iTunes link, and past episodes, audio and video, at don'tpanic.io.
Did Shaun's face disappear for everyone else too? Or
it did, yeah. My computer has been, I had to restart, and it's just been a nightmare, so I could just drop out in the middle of the show. A little tension there for the
How's
listeners.
that Windows 8 working out for you there, Shaun?
My computer's worked great all day, and then the second I plug 18,000 things into it for the show, it just kind of like falls in upon itself. Yeah,
that's too bad.
Darn Windows. Mac would never do that.
No.
And also be sure to watch us live. We are all in the chat room right now. Again, don'tpanic.io/live.html, facebook.com/don'tpanicshow. Okay, let's move on. We've got a lot to talk about this week. We've got KitKat is here. The Nexus 5 is here. Blackberry is not going to be here much longer. The NSA is collecting all your goods. We've got Valve Steam machines, and we've got some awesome picks. But let's kick it off with the big announcement this week. It's been a busy fall. Yes, Colby?
Before we start, can I just, in case Colin's listening, the Red Sox won the World Series, and the Yankees didn't even make the playoffs. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Go Boston. Ooh, fuck the Yankees. They suck.
Good call, Colby. Good call.
Yeah. No problem.
Go Sox. Going to Fenway. Okay. I can't do a Boston accent. All right. Dan, are there any sports teams you want to trash talk before we get going? No?
Yeah, not really. The Jets, I have a soft spot for making fun of them.
Well, they're like the Nickelback of football.
That's because last year was so easy. But I don't actually know anything about football, which speaks to the fact that, even I, someone who tries to insulate himself as much as possible from football, still heard about how much the Jets suck.
It's the cool thing. All the kids are doing it now, sucking like the Jets. Okay, we will move on from these shenanigans to technology. An Android 4.4 KitKat was released this week by the little company known as Google. This is the second release since 4.0 back in 11, and now we're on 4.4. And while it's not radically different, it certainly is different. So we'll run down some of the new things you'll get to see in 4.4. There's definitely some design stuff. Shouldn't be surprised we see iOS take a big radical change in iOS 7, so Android's not far behind. They're moving to a lot of whites versus blues, a lot more translucency. They're hiding the status bar and the I see now I don't even know what you call it, so now I have to literally look. The status bar and the bottom button bar, says this article, are translucent in a lot of places or sometimes disappear completely, so your apps go full screen without seeing the status bar at the top or the on-screen buttons at the bottom. Apps have been updated to look prettier. I mean, are you guys... I cannot share my screen, otherwise I would. Are you guys looking at these screenshot pictures here?
Yeah, I can share my...
That would be because I'm doing the two. Anyway, it's a long story. So are there any sort of immediate thoughts on this new design style Google's going for? I mean, certainly cleaner, simplistic. I know one of the big issues I had with Android was that it didn't feel as it felt a lot heavier and a lot clunkier than otherwise than iOS perhaps, or even Windows Phone. I thought it was just it looked like an operating system and not like something fun. I don't know. What do you guys? I think they've improved a lot.
I mean, I know. So like a lot of it, at least for me, a lot of it used to be that it was just kind of slow. So, but they addressed a lot of that in the last. I believe it was the 4.
Belly Gene.
Belly Gene.
Can't do that with this one though. KitKat is KitKat, no matter how you switch it.
I hate that. I guess it could be Cat Kit.
There you go. That's not bad.
That must be like the SDK. That's what they should rename to Android SDK. Cat Kit.
Yeah, but I mean, it is certain, like, having taken like 7 months off from Android and gone back to it a little bit this summer. The improvement in that clunky factor was significantly improved, I thought. But I really dig the look of this. Though I'm not sure if it actually is different or they just have different wallpapers. Either way, it looks way better.
I think the icons are a little softer, and I honestly I think it's a lot of the translucency stuff you see in the bottom button bar and in the taskbar. It just doesn't seem as like heavy and weighted down.
Very similar to iOS 7 changes.
Absolutely. Other things of note here, the launcher has changed up, where fully integrated with Google Now, no surprise there. All you have to do is the leftmost screen when you're swiping through your screens is now Google Now. So you go there and you can...
That's nice.
Yep, and once you're in the launcher, all you have to do is say, OK, Google, and it'll do the voice search. It won't do it with your phone being off unless you have a specific phone like the Moto X.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cool things that I thought when it came to Google Now was that starting slowly with a few specific partners, but then rolling out broader, is that Google Now has partnerships with app developers. So app information is included in Google Now. Things like restaurant reservations and OpenTable, and searching within Twitter and other. They don't have a full list of who they're including yet. That'll roll out over time. But I'm like, that's a big improvement over, I guess Siri would probably be your next closest competitor, who has yet to really embrace the connecting with apps. And I think that's an enormous value add for Google if they can get these apps to actually include their data in Google Now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Siri has like some specific third-party integrations now, right? But like, it's not an open platform, which is
it's really too bad.
Pretty darn lame, if you ask me. I don't know. Like, It's not very good, but it could be useful, maybe.
Could be useful, maybe. So along with Google Now, we have an update to Hangouts, including SMS and MMS built in with Hangouts. Although early reviews say it's not that great and you're going to want to bypass doing some of that, specifically because you have to tie your SMS to one Google account. Sometimes they don't show up in threads. If you're using multiple Google accounts, you'll have an issue. They're separate, whereas opposed to iMessage, where the iMessage and the SMS will be in the same thread. Google separates them out. I mean, it's clearly an early version of the product. So I don't think there's a lot of surprise there with that. But it is a good start. And they're certainly pushing Hangouts as the future of messaging.
What is Hangouts? We're on a Hangout right now.
Hangout is text, audio, and video from all your devices to all the other devices.
Okay.
That's if you really want to know what Google's going for. And it's connecting, and eventually it'll be like, I mean, I'm trying to think of a good comparison, but there really isn't I guess kind of like Facebook in a way, where it's just...
Yeah, Facebook has all that stuff.
You send out one message on one thing and it goes to all the other things. And sometimes that message is text, and sometimes it's pictures, and sometimes it's audio, and sometimes it's video. And it's just, and they're just trying to, and then you throw in Google Voice, which you're getting a little bit with this SMS integration, and it just turns into the communication product. It's in your Gmail, it's in Google Plus.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really great for the NSA. They have like one consolidated place. Just
oh my God! They said the NSA drink.
I didn't even bring it up this time.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I promise. Let's see what else is new in here. There's some productivity stuff. Quick Office is pre-installed, so you can mess around with
that's right.
Office apps. There is a Quick Office. I believe Google bought them a couple years ago. It was a separate, it was a separate app you could download for Android. I've used it. It's a fine program. The weird thing is, Quick Office can't open Google Docs from Google Drive. So if you want to edit a Word document, you use Quick Office. But if you want to open a Google Doc, you have to use Google Drive. They don't really work together. It's very strange.
Can you open a Word document? I mean, can you open Word documents in Google Drive?
You can, but you can't edit them unless you convert it to a Google Doc. Quick Office allows you to edit it in native Doc or DocX format.
Oh.
I know. It's so clear and obvious.
Okay.
So it's a little silly. There's a new file picker app, which integrates with cloud services, Google Drive, Dropbox, so you can mix up your files a lot easier. Apparently, performance is significantly better. You remember what was it, Project Butter? They have a new one, Project Svelte.
Okay. What's
Which
Project Svelte?
It says here that it makes Android 4.4 capable of running on lower-end hardware. It improves memory management, so it'll run faster on higher devices and run better on lower-end devices.
Does it say how lower?
Only 512 megabytes of RAM.
Okay.
Which I guess is low.
Semi.
I mean, the rumor was part of this was due to wearables and Google Glass and, the
megabytes of RAM.
I don't know.
There's also, around the world, there's this pretty significant amount of, like, really old Android phones.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a big part of it.
Those will probably never get updated, let's be honest.
I mean, that's...
So is the idea that you can update a phone now that you weren't able to update for Jelly Bean, or is there still a minimum hardware requirement? It's just that it'll work better.
There's a minimum requirement. I'm under everything I've read leads me to the idea that this was not designed for older models, but rather for future lower powered models. So I'm sure with CyanogenMod and something like that, could you put it on an older device that Jelly Bean didn't work great on? Yeah, it'll probably work a lot better, but I don't think that was actually really their intention.
Mm-hmm. I see.
One other thing they did was the phone app now is kind of smart. So it not only will automatically pull up people you call the most, but you can actually search for businesses right within the phone dialer app. So instead of having to do it separate, if you want to call the local pizza place, you can put in the name of the pizza place right in dialer, and it'll find you that number.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a neat little shortcut. That's it for most of the big features. A couple of other apps were updated. The biggest things I want to mention that haven't been mentioned is that a very large amount of what we talked about is only available on one phone.
What?
The launcher with Google Now, which is probably the biggest. There were a couple of other features that I'm trying to remember. Oh, the app integration with Google Now. Those are only available on the Nexus 5.
What? Is that like for permanence or just like because nothing else runs KitKat?
It is in the version of KitKat that is on Nexus 5. It is not in the version that everyone else is getting.
What?
So really, the big highlight from KitKat, I mean, we talked about all these features, but a huge thing to talk about is that this is the most Google-integrated Android they've ever put out.
Yeah.
But that means they really are making now two different versions of Android. They're making the Google version that'll be on the Nexus 5 with Google Now and all this Google integration and the SMS with your Google account and all stuff. And then a second version of Android, KitKat, that is going out to everyone else, a little less Google.
Doesn't that run contrary to their whole philosophy that they talked about at the last Android release? Like, we want to bypass the carriers and get all the same features to everyone as soon as possible. And I was like, well, yes, but all the features that we are like differentiating on for our own device, we are not going to give to everyone. Is it that certain hardware requirements need to be met?
I would doubt it's hardware requirements. It'll be interesting to see if a future phone is announced with these features that isn't a Nexus phone.
Or a Motorola phone.
Or a Motorola phone. But, I mean, my assumption based on very little knowledge would be that Google is finally putting their foot down when it comes to all these other manufacturers who are putting HTC Sense and whatever gunk Samsung slaps all over their phones, and they're saying enough is enough. We'll give you Android, and that's fine, but we know how to make good Android, and we're going to keep the best stuff for ourselves. And maybe down the line they'll roll it out to them, but I mean, I honestly think it's a smart strategy for Google. I absolutely approve of what they're doing. I know it kind of goes against the open, everyone gets Android kind of mentality, but Google's got to look out for themselves, and Android is really, there's probably some reason why they couldn't put Google Now on all these other devices. And so they'd rather have the best experience on their devices. It makes sense for them as a company. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a good strategy for them?
I mean, maybe it wasn't like... Well, maybe this is like Google's fork of Android in the same way like Sense is HTC's. You know what I mean? Like maybe, I don't know, could licensing things, their open source licenses and stuff, prevent them from legally doing that?
No, because only the actual open source Android is very bare bones. It doesn't have Gmail or any of those things in it.
Right.
And actually there's some talk about how Google has kind of stopped working on the some of the built-in apps. So there's a built-in SMS app and the built-in email app and the built-in browser that isn't Chrome.
Yeah,
that just haven't been updated because Google has since replaced them with their own Hangouts and Gmail and Google Calendar and things like that.
Right.
So
that's probably why they're so terrible.
Right. Yeah, but at the same time, no one else can like take up the maintaining of those things because Android is open source, but no pull requests accepted, as it were. So, so is it really open source? I don't know, but so maybe that's what this is. Also, just another thing that people like Amazon won't get out of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and as I think about it, I remember, Amazon has really their own version of Android. CyanogenMod just got a big investment to roll out their own official version of Android to be put on devices. I mean, more and more of these companies are fundamentally changing Android. So, I mean, is it really any surprise Google has said we know what's best and we're going to go for it? I don't know.
Maybe.
It's kind of surprising.
You think so? Why do you think it's surprising?
It just... because why didn't they do that before? What changed from like 2011 until now?
Because now they own their own phone company for starters.
Mm-hmm.
They own Motorola. And I just think that maybe they just got fed up. I know I got fed up. I know I'm looking at all of these...
oh, yeah.
All these different
just
horrific skins on these, and maybe they. I hope that's the case. I hope someone at Google finally said, seriously, we let Samsung make these ridiculous OS tweaks no one cares about. That I want them. I want Google to tell me what I want. Like, just tell me. Don't give me options. Just give me the phone.
Actually, I kind of buy that. Like, maybe this is a play to take over the. Right, so when they started this, they needed to get into the market. It wasn't, and they couldn't be the device manufacturer. So they had to. This was their gimmick to sell in the face of their competition. Like, you can take this. This is open source, so you can make it your own, right? And in theory, what they got out of that was users for Google services and things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But now they have their own phone company, and I mean, maybe they're betting on the fact that if they leave Samsung and HTC to on their own software wise, they'll fall apart. Which I don't think that's necessarily an unsafe bet. I have a Samsung phone. It's bad news.
Well,
maybe. It could be. They're scheming. They like to take over. I mean, they're in every. Google competes with literally everyone. So I can't think of a company they don't compete with.
Chiquita Bananas.
Chipotle.
Although if Google opened a burrito place, you'd probably go.
Oh, definitely, but they haven't entered that market quite yet.
That's what the barges are. Floating burrito restaurants.
Did we talk about the barge last week?
No, we didn't.
No,
we haven't.
we didn't.
No, we didn't talk about the barges.
It's not nearly as exciting as it would have been last week.
I should have done an on-location report.
As Google slowly
selfie camera action down in San Francisco Bay.
Yeah.
As Google becomes a movie supervillain with their floating barges.
For anyone who doesn't know, last week, there are all these stories on the internet about, there are these big barges that someone's building in San Francisco Bay, and everyone thinks it's Google. And no one knows what they could be for.
Yeah, well, I think they've confirmed 2, and they think there's up to 4. There's one up in Portland, Maine. They got photos of.
Did they confirm what it is?
That's
No.
like a supervillain.
I don't think they've officially confirmed what it is, but there's credible reports as to what it could be.
Like what?
Everything from stores to sell Google Glass to a special VIP display venue for Google X, future projects, to water-cooled data centers, to
Also, extra national data centers, though.
there you go.
Yeah, because like if you're Google and you start to think to yourself, what could happen that would just make Google cease to exist? And like any sort of crazy United States thing would probably cause Google to cease to exist. Like
That's
some
true.
crazy law or something.
We have been looking kind of unstable lately.
The government was shut down for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah. And then they were like spying on people left and right.
They had to call Google to fix healthcare.gov.
oh man.
Remember that? I really
Hilarious.
enjoyed the infographics of like software size. That was really high quality.
What were they saying? Is it significantly more lines of code?
Yeah, it's like massive. I forget what the biggest one was. Like the biggest, but it was something crazy. It was just crazy. Crazy.
I am going to direct us back on track.
What?
Not that I didn't enjoy these tangents.
Shaun, the world's ending.
I know. It was really, and I'll just say this and then we'll move on, but I was watching CNN before we got on the air, and there was a shooting at the Paramus, New Jersey mall, which apparently no one was injured, but they're still looking for the guy. But the part that was amusing to me was, who's the worst person you can think to interview live on CNN? Answer, people who were at a Paramus, New Jersey shopping mall at a Monday night at 9:30 p.m. There were people calling into CNN, and there was one guy, and Anderson Cooper's like, thank you, I know you're in the mall, locked down, don't tell us your location in case the guy's listening. And so the guy, what's the first thing the guy says? He goes, yeah, we're in the back room at the Brookstone, it's right around the corner from the Nordstrom in the east end of the mall, and he's like, just a reminder, you don't have to tell us where you are. I'm just like, it was really embarrassing. Okay, Nexus 5. This is the phone they rolled out alongside 4.4 KitKat. Google has their long line of Nexus products, the fine products that Google say are A-OK to run their software 100% unaltered. And the newest is the Nexus 5. It is a smartphone. I'll quickly run through some of the spec highlights that you may need to know. It is a 4.95, I'm just going to say 5-inch, 1080p screen on that. 445 pixels per inch. It's apparently gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
That's what I'm told.
Does it come with one of those pencils in a notebook like that so you can look cool?
No, it doesn't. I wish it did. Just the accessories to put on your desk.
Like wood.
Let's see. It has a camera with megapixels. I'm trying to find where it says how many. Several.
Greater than one. Plural megapixels.
Less than 3,000. I believe it's 3. It's 3. It runs KitKat. I'll just run down some of the other things. It's a solidly built, feels good to use, good processing power, gorgeous display. Battery life is mediocre, but the big highlight on this phone, there's a big good and a big bad, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The big good is the price. What if I told you you could get a brand new, cutting-edge, high-quality smartphone running the latest Google Android operating system for $349 off contract? Unsubsidized.
To get right out of town, Shaun.
I kid you not, Dan Miller. I kid you not. It is insane, but yes, it is $349 starting price for 16 gigabytes. It is $400 for 32 gigabytes. Yeah, I know. That is frankly astonishing.
Pretty legit.
Not that this is the first cheap smartphone. I mean, I know there's a couple of really nice Nokia Windows phones that off contract are as low as 200, 150. But certainly,
I mean, you could get a Firefox OS phone for like $79, I think.
That's not a real thing.
Ooh, them's fighting words.
It is a real thing. I have one. Look, it's here. I have it. Well, this one was more than $79.
Is that like the Apple of Firefox OS phones there?
I mean, I guess. It has a bigger screen and more RAM.
Wow.
I think.
Well,
iPhone would be.
If you decide you don't want a Firefox OS phone and you make a bad choice, you can get the Nexus 5 for only $349. It is insanely reasonable price. Now, the bad side, apparently the camera blows. It occasionally, it's very hit or miss. It will occasionally take good shots, but a lot of times it doesn't. We've seen this happen in other phones. It's often fixed through software updates, but you know, I mean, let's be honest. In probably the top 3 features of any phone you get, camera is going to be way up there.
Yeah.
So I think for a phone to just have a good enough camera isn't going to cut it. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right.
I agree, especially for something like the Nexus where I don't think people walk into the store and buy those. Because marketing. So if you're not selling it really hard, then I don't think it. If it's not selling itself on its own merits, then I don't think it'll sell.
And I think it's a disappointment, not just because the camera was not so good in this, but there were reports the camera was not so good in the Moto X. I don't know what issues Google is having getting decent cameras, but you know, even my iPhone 4S, which is I don't even know how many years old, takes really great pictures. You have the Lumia 1020, which is taking some 41 gazillion megapixels. You know, I think to miss on the camera is to miss on a pretty big feature.
Yeah.
Which is a big disappointment because I think this is a really great phone, but I don't know if I mean, would either of you be interested in buying this? Does it excite anybody? No?
No, nothing really gets me going.
I mean, so I guess if I was gonna get an Android phone, maybe.
But still, the Moto X is still so nice, and it doesn't have as crappy a camera.
If it doesn't have all those cool things like the Google Now integration.
Well, it has Google Now, but just not to a very light extent. It's basically going to be the same as Jelly Bean.
But on the Moto X, you can do the voice activation from the phone's screen not even being on.
And that's something the Nexus 5 cannot do.
Right.
So it's something to keep in mind. And honestly, I mean, if you really think about it, that's kind of confusing to consumers. When you have some features on some phones and not on others, that's when you get that sort of checklist scenario where some phones are checked with this and not with this. You know, if I would think that's what Google is trying to avoid, but I don't know.
Huh. I don't know either. I don't know what to tell you.
This is why I like Apple News. That's what I thought
they were trying to avoid too. That's why I was so confused about KitKat doesn't really have any features. It's just hoodwork, except for the features that we're releasing only with the Nexus 5.
I don't know.
And it's a Nexus phone. It's supposed to be running like, I don't know. I just always got the impression that the Nexus phones ran the same stuff that everyone else got. Otherwise, why isn't the Moto X a Nexus phone? What's the difference between the Moto X and the Nexus 5 now, at the end of the day?
In pure terms of software?
Well,
I mean, obviously there's hardware differences.
Yeah, but like the Moto X is specifically not a Google phone, which is why they were able to do crazy stuff like add this feature where you can talk to it without the screen being on, which isn't built into stock Android, right?
Yeah.
But now the Nexus phone, which is supposed to be not that, also has features that no other phone has?
Well, I think this is going to be my totally in the wild shot prediction, but my guess would be we're going to see KitKat coming to the Moto X with this feature built in, the always listening, because it's a processor thing. That's how the Moto X is able to do it. They have that second processor. I think with the way Google now is integrated into KitKat, it wouldn't surprise me to see it roll out to the Moto X and include all this. Again, they haven't said it's only the Nexus 5. It's just only. They say partners will not have these features, but they have never said, like, we're never giving it out. They've only said for now the Nexus 5 is the only phone. So is Samsung going to get some of this stuff? Probably not. I mean, but it wouldn't surprise me to see the Moto X get updated. That's one of the benefits to them. Hopefully, one of the benefits to them owning the company is faster updates. And then to see this Google Now stuff built in with the Moto X. But that's a total prediction. This is so new, it's hard to know.
Thanks for the clarification.
I don't know how clear that was. It was mostly me BSing.
Yeah.
It's wild speculation, but it's all we've got. The wildest of expectations. All right. Well, why don't we move on from Android? We've got 3 other stories here. Is there any that you guys particularly want to talk about?
You know which one I want to talk about, but we should do at least something before that.
Okay, that's fine then.
Then again, that one's not very long, so we can just knock it out now if you want to.
I want to get this NSA stuff over with because you know how big of a fan I am of this. So, Dan, tell us what wacky hijinks is the NSA up to this week?
Okay, so last week, which was probably after we even had the show last week, the Washington Post or the Guardian, one of those, released more Snowden documents, which was basically like a napkin drawing of Google's infrastructure and the internet, and the point, what we in the industry call where SSL terminates. So SSL is really expensive, and it turns out that you want to not have that for as much as you can. And so once you get the data into your data center, you terminate the SSL and you don't encrypt anything after that point because it's all in your data center anyways. The NSA realized this and decrypted this, or somehow either by it was speculated, it was hinted that they had done something with this to read Google's internal traffic, and then the NSA came out and said, no, we don't listen to any of Google's traffic without asking them first, basically. We have legal channels, and we only listen to foreign nationals and no U.S. citizens. Then, almost immediately, they released more documents showing that the NSA, another NSA presentation that basically lays out how the Google internal authentication works. So apparently, I now know this, if you work at Google, there's this thing, what do they call it? Anyways, Google has this service you use to log into all the internal services at Google. Everything goes through this one thing, this one authentication service. Gaia, there you go. And the NSA lays out exactly how that works in the protocol and all of these things, thereby showing that they have accessed the internal Google network, thereby refuting the NSA statement from just earlier that day, I think. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I really like the drawing, but I can't find it.
Oh.
I think I just found it. Colby, did you see this drawing?
No, I didn't. Put it up, man.
I'm trying. Nope. That's not it. Ta-da.
I was listening. I just really needed some more coffee.
Oh, okay. That's just fine. I'm trying to find the napkin drawing picture.
So while you're doing that,
there we go.
oh, okay.
What were you gonna say, Shaun?
My question is, why should I care about this one this time?
You should have cared about all the ones that every time.
No, Colby, the news has already put me in an enormous panic. Why should I care about this one? Oh, I did see that drawing. That drawing was with the smiley face.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Yeah, so I think this one's particularly heinous because they, like, willfully lying to the American public and then immediately being proven, this has happened multiple times, where they say, we do not spy on other national leaders. And then it's like, well, you spied on the German, secretary for years. And it's like, well, maybe we do that. We do not look at any American traffic from U.S.-based companies without explicit court orders and the proper approvals. Well, you listen to everything without any approval, foreign national or not. So I don't know. It's like they haven't shown the ability to tell the truth about anything.
No.
It's not necessarily their fault.
I suspect they're lying about most everything. So I mean, as far as it's gone so far, I mean, they've been lying about everything. So
hold the phone. You're telling me a secretive government spying agency isn't telling us the truth?
Yes.
Indeed.
What? I am outraged. No, it's...
What are we supposed to believe?
You know what? I'm honestly starting to think that at this point they're purposefully rolling out lots of little information over a long period of time so that people stop giving a crap. Because, like, at this point, I'm like, I get it, you're spying on us. Stop telling me about it. Like you've convinced me. You don't have to keep leaking things. I get it. You're spying.
But then it goes beyond that, too, because other countries don't want to... The German government isn't going to use Google Apps.
Well, maybe Chancellor Angela Merkel shouldn't be hiding things. No, I mean, what? It's weird that we're surprised that the U.S. is spying on us, but Germany's probably also spying on us.
I'm not
China's
surprised
also spying on
that
us.
they're
We're all
spying on
each other.
I'm surprised that they can't come clean about what's happening.
Well, of course they can't. They're a government spying agency. Their whole website's devoted to how they don't come clean about things. Like, I just, yeah, it sucks and nobody wants to be spied on, but I just think it's really funny. Like, wait, the NSA was spying on people? Like, yeah, it's just we got caught. That's like everyone else does this. Like, I'm sure China has a server somewhere with all my emails on it. That's fine, but
China probably doesn't because China doesn't have physical access to like this shit, these cables.
Oh, I like to imagine that there's some like Mission Impossible style spy stuff going on, and there's some Google engineer with the rubber mask, and he tears it off.
It's a proven fact that a Chinese government agent sneaks into everyone's house at night and reads your mail. I mean,
I'm not surprised. That's why I haven't been getting my mail. No, I don't know. I agree, and I think technologically it's very interesting when you start talking about these internal systems that these different companies have. But it's just, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a big NSA downer. I'm sorry.
I think next week we're gonna find out that those little DEP boxes outside of everyone's house are actually these things called Van Eck freaking devices, which read. I learned about this last week. Which basically diff the radiation from your monitor against the environmental radiation, and are able to reconstruct what's being shown on your monitor remotely.
What?
I think next week we'll find that out. And
I love spy stuff.
Even on computers that aren't even connected to the internet, even if you don't save anything, they're still recording everything. That's what I think.
I love it. I love this kind of this like sci-fi-esque kind of like. Crazy
I read
stuff.
papers about it last weekend. It's a legit thing, and they thought they wouldn't be able to do it when CRTs went away. But then they're like, we just get a more powerful antenna, and now we totally can. It's like crazy.
God, that's terrifying.
That's awesome. That's so like I love like back in like World War I where they had like the recorder the size of a quarter and that was like cutting edge. Like I love spy stuff like that. So that's cool. Like that's awesome. Maybe I've just been watching too much Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I learned that from Cryptonomicon, which was my pick last week, I think.
Yeah.
Van Eck Freaking, so definitely check it out.
I haven't started it. Tomorrow comes out the. I don't know if you guys ever read Game Change, which was the book about the 2008 election. It's an awesome book, and I highly recommend it. Their sequel is coming out tomorrow, and it's all about the 2012 election. And they go in depth. And the first book was like really kind of scandalous and went really in depth. So I'm very excited. Like I already pre-ordered it. And it's gonna show up on my Kindle tomorrow. So.
Imagine if it was super mundane.
It's Mitt Romney, so it wouldn't surprise me. Okay.
It's regular.
It's just him hanging around.
Nothing exciting happened.
That's why he didn't win. He was just a boring regular guy. So let's move on to one last story. We're gonna move past the Steam Machine thing only because it's mostly images. I recommend everyone go and check them out. They're all over the blog, so you can just probably Google Valve Steam Machine. The prototype is out. You can look at it. It's shiny and beautiful in the pictures, and it glows.
Shiny and beautiful, Shaun.
Oh, Dan, you stop it. Man after my own heart. No, it looks like every other game console you've ever seen. They talk a little bit about the internal specs, but they said that nothing's finalized and they're going to make actual partner announcements at CES in January. So
I've been thinking about building a gaming PC again, and that video card they have in there is like the most expensive video card you can buy, and is like legit $1,000.
Yeah.
So that's pretty intense.
Gaming PCs and equipment can get very expensive very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how this will be priced when it comes out in January. So that's Valve's latest. But I wanted to talk actually about a little company called Blackberry. Which has been on a bit of a business roller coaster. The latest being is that they were supposed to be bought out by its largest shareholder, and instead they're going to stick around because their investors are putting $1 billion into the company. They're getting a new CEO in John Chen. And really,
didn't they just hire their old CEO like a year ago or a little over a year ago?
Yep, they dumped him.
Nice.
I have an announcement for like the rest of the world. Like, if instead of giving $1 billion to BlackBerry, they would just give it to me, I can almost guarantee that I wouldn't lose it, and I would probably make more money than BlackBerry is going to.
You could put it into a checking account and make more money than. No, I agree. What was it? Somewhere I have to find this article. Oh, last quarter. In the second quarter of this year, BlackBerry lost about $1 billion. In one quarter, they lost $1 billion.
That's insane.
So the real question I wanted to talk about, there have been rumors about everyone and their brother coming around and buying the company, but no one's been able to sign on that dotted line. This reminds me very much of Palm back when it started its decline. They launched WebOS, BlackBerry launched BlackBerry 10, and very quickly it didn't pan out, and HP bought Palm. What do we see the future looking like for BlackBerry? I mean, is this a smart investment for any company? Do you think they can turn it around on their own, or are we going to have, a fire sale and, auction it off? A lot. That's pretty much all that they're worth now. No, don't laugh, but that's really what people say.
Yeah.
That, and if there's anything in BlackBerry Messenger or BlackBerry 10.
I don't think
It's more than 10,000 patents.
Well, also, like, the BlackBerry Enterprise stuff is pretty serious. Like, although I'm sure the NSA has the keys to it, but, like, the encryption and all the, like, regulatory stuff that it meets for, like, healthcare and government and Department of Defense, like, I think they've got that market locked down.
Well,
do you think that they could like IBM it at this point and just be like, well, we're gonna make high-end smartphones for highly regulated, constrained industries and stop most R&D that doesn't really go in that direction?
That might not be a bad idea.
the only questions I have about them doing that, and I agree, I don't think that's a bad idea, but A, how big that market actually is versus how big we perceive it to be.
It's not that big, but it could keep a company afloat that doesn't have to cut its expenses down.
And that's true, but then my other point would be this flies in the face of the bring your own device movement and the fact that phones have gone from being a commodity to being, I don't want to say a fashion statement because I don't think that's fair, but they've definitely gone to a style item where I think all it's going to take is Apple or Google or Microsoft or somebody to just get a little bit of foot in the door to take this away from BlackBerry. If anything, it would make more sense for they in no way shouldn't. I'm not endorsing this, but it does somewhat make sense. Would be Microsoft buying BlackBerry or even Samsung buying BlackBerry, because I know Samsung's been pushing really hard in enterprise, and incorporate them into their enterprise
talk about
products.
the Facebook phone buying BlackBerry.
Yeah, which would be a horrifically bad idea.
Yeah.
Because if there's the one, what's Facebook missing, folks? Hardware.
Hey, Amazon did it. Who would have thunk?
To be honest, not me.
Yeah, that worked out well for them.
But I mean, does BlackBerry really have any future in consumer products?
I don't think so.
I mean, the only thing I think that has any value would be patents, and I think BlackBerry Messenger, to some degree, still has some value. The statistics of people who still use BBM is shockingly high.
How did they use it before they released it on all the other platforms?
They used it. You know, Dan, people still use BlackBerries.
Oh.
Just not nearly enough. But no,
Yeah.
but they do.
Kaylee, one of our friends from college, tried to hold out as long as possible. Like, she really wanted BBM to come out on all the other phones so we could all BBM together.
I mean, it's really not bad. It's not bad technology, and especially now that they're at least somewhat making it more multi-dimensional. You know, I could see Microsoft doesn't really have a particularly good cross-platform messaging. They're trying it with Skype.
That's true.
BBM could be shoehorned in. Even Facebook, I could see to some degree using BBM, but you know, it's just I see them really like I saw Palm before HP bought them, and I'm like, I feel bad. I want them to be around, but it's like I don't see. It's kind of like Kodak, you know, where it's like I get it. You were really popular for a while, and then you drop the ball, and now all you're worth is your patents, and you're just going to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe they have something up their sleeve, and they'll shock us all.
I hope so. I don't like seeing businesses fold, and I liked WebOS. I liked what Palm was doing. I don't like to see companies shut down, but you know, you can't lose $1 billion in a quarter and expect to be around much longer. So I certainly wouldn't be buying their stock right now. We'll put it that way. Although it's pretty low, so
Probably cheap, yeah.
if you're looking to make money on that turnaround, now would be the time. Outstanding. All right. Lots of good stories, but let's move on to our picks this week. And we have some really awesome ones I'm excited for. And we are going to start, I think, with Dan, who has a service I've been dying to use, and I'd like to know your experiences with this, because I don't know anyone who's actually used this.
Oh,
So
crazy.
I know. Well, I live in the middle of nowhere, and we don't. This isn't a thing. But tell me about it. I'm actually really excited.
Okay, so my pick this week is something you might have heard about called Airbnb. And basically what Airbnb is you have a space, whether it's a room or a couch or an entire apartment or entire home, and you can be a host on Airbnb, and people sign up through this really great interface and pay to be at your place for a certain amount of time. And Airbnb does all this great stuff to facilitate making sure that the host is a reliable person and doing background checks on even some of the people now. So, like, as a person looking for things, it's incumbent on you to supply your driver's license because that makes it more likely for the host to accept you and things like that. But, Shaun, funny you should mention living in the middle of nowhere. Unfortunately, that's not a good query. Let's say we were going to go to Rhinebeck, New York. So we type in Rhinebeck, New York, search, and great. We've got some rooms. So you'll find Airbnbs all over the place.
There's some in the crappy town I'm from.
Yeah, because, like, why not? I'm sure there's some people passing through. If you have a spare room or, like,
This is cool.
a little shed that you renovated, recoup your investment. They also have some really crazy things. So one of my favorite things to do on Airbnb is just to look at places I would probably never actually go to. Come on. And one of the best ways to do that is by looking at these popular wish lists that other people make. And you learn all about weird things, like glamping, which is glamour plus camping, apparently. And these are like these crazy campsites that you can get with like tree houses or like weird hexagonal structures. So it's like geodesic dome houses, all these crazy things, crazy living quarters that you can rent for like incredibly reasonable. And that's the other thing is like it's really cheap. It's almost always cheaper than a hotel, and you get like a really nicely furnished house, because for a lot of people the house is like a point of pride. It's like they're really getting the opportunity for people to come in and appreciate their home renovation skills. All the places I've stayed at, it's been 3 so far, have been very nicely decorated and renovated, impeccably kept, and I think it's because people just like to show off and get that appreciation. So it's nicer than a hotel, it's cheaper than a hotel, and all around way better. So my pick is Airbnb. Next time you're traveling or just looking to get away for a weekend, do it up.
That is super cool. Dan, how do we get to stay at your place?
Well, in New York, it might be illegal. We haven't really figured that out yet, but I'll get back to you.
All right. Cool. Colby, can we stay at your place?
My place in San Francisco?
California,
Yeah.
man.
We actually probably could. We have like an extra room in our apartment.
There are a lot of San Francisco places.
Whether
Yeah.
or not I don't know, is that legal? I don't know if our lease like
No, that's true.
things like that, but maybe.
That's really
Shaun,
neat.
you can come stay at my place whenever you want.
for a fee, and you have to get my driver's license, and you have to.
Yes. Yeah.
Better safe than sorry. That is
I
outstanding.
don't know what the Shaun guy has done.
No, you don't. Awesome. All right. Well, Colby, let's talk about your pick, which is an absolutely outstanding service I've been using for years, and I'm glad you were going to tell the world about it. So.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I have accounts on a lot of websites, and really, there are 2 ways to manage an unmemorizable number of account logins and passwords. One way is to have one password for all your things, which for a very long time I did, but you really shouldn't do that. It's bad news. Because then if someone gets your password for one thing, they have your passwords for all the things. And the other way, I think, is to use a service like LastPass, which basically LastPass is a little browser extension that you install in Chrome or Firefox or Safari or, maybe Internet Explorer probably.
They have mobile apps too.
Yep, yeah, they have an iPhone and an Android app too. And really what it does is like every time you log into a website, it'll pop up and say, hey, do you want to save this website? And you can save it, and then you never have to type in your username or password again on that website. And not only that, but when you sign up for a new website, it detects a sign-up form, and it'll let you, or it'll help you generate a password. So there are all kinds of options for generating passwords. So you could have something totally crazy and 64 characters long with special characters and capital letters and numbers that's totally gibberish. Or you can have, something that's readable words, I think there's an option. So it's something you might be able to understand. And it's very easy to generate a password. And because the service remembers all the passwords for you, it's no big deal that you can't memorize a million different 32-character strings because you're not a robot, because LastPass is a robot and it can do that. So that's that. If you want to get serious about security, LastPass is your issue. Unless unless LastPass got hacked, and then you'd be screwed. But I'm willing to risk that they're good at not getting hacked.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just add a couple things. One is that I've used LastPass for a long time, and I feel weirdly comfortable with LastPass only because I use Chrome syncing across everything, and Chrome is constantly we'll remember your passwords. I don't like Google knowing all my passwords because they already know everything else. At least LastPass, all they know is my passwords. So there's that. I'd also recommend that if you get serious about LastPass, their upgrading to premium is not a bad idea. You get more access with their mobile apps, which are excellent. You can share passwords with people. If you need someone to access an account, you can send them a temporary login. And it's $12 a year. It's super reasonable. So
it's yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's $1 a month. It's so reasonable. So I highly recommend getting really into to LastPass because that's it's awesome. Fact. LastPass.com. I always say LastPass. I never say the T.
Indeed. What's your pick, Shaun?
All right. So Halloween is over. Halloween was so last month, okay? What is the next big, great American holiday?
Veterans Day.
Well, okay, after that.
Thanksgiving.
No, you're not doing this right. Okay, time out. Let's roll this back. The next great American holiday, Black Friday, the one day a year. Some say 4th of July is the most American holiday. I disagree. I say Black Friday is the most American. The best day of the year where you go out at 2 a.m. in the freezing cold and stand outside of a Best Buy to watch people trample each other for a cheap flat screen TV. It is my favorite holiday all year, and I look forward to it, and I go every year out in the early morning. It's a blast, but it's a rookie move to not be prepared. Anyone who shows up to a Walmart at midnight without some kind of list, you're going to get trampled. I guarantee it. I've seen it before, okay? So you got to get prepared, but you got to have the tools to do it. Years of doing this has shown me the best tools, and it all comes down to one website. Bookmark it, remember it, subscribe, bfads.net, or bfads.net, but you get the idea. BF for Black Friday, ads.net. And this is, in my opinion, the best Black Friday. And I know you're saying, Shaun, we've only just gotten into November. Well, you know, some of the ads are already out, and there's more out every day. This site is great because everything on there is categorized well. They get the leaks pretty early. They're one of the top Black Friday sites, including full ad scans. They list all the items by store and by category, including searchables. They also collect online sales as well. They're very good about keeping you up to date with as new stuff comes out. They do guides each year telling you what the best deal is or what's the best, TV or camera in each price range across all the stores. There's forums where you can share deals. And there's also an account feature where you can add items to your wish list, and then to prepare for Black Friday, you can print out a list, and it will not only tell you where to get things or what you're going to get, but it'll even tell you where in the store you can find them, because some stores actually will put them in a certain, it won't be in electronics, it'll be in a certain area. It's definitely the professionals Black Friday's website, and they also the professional. You can tell.
How many people have you trampled to death?
I've watched a lot of people. I'm a spectator in the sport. I don't participate because I know better, but I do enjoy watching people getting trampled.
Well played. I tried to trip you up there, and you.
No, I will never admit to the crime. I'll never forget. I'll just tell this briefly, but I was at Target one year, and I think it was the first store I stopped at, and it was probably about 4 a.m. when they opened, and the doors opened, and everyone was just slamming each other to get in, and I was a little bit back in the line, so I didn't get slammed. So I finally get in the store, and some guy carrying, it must have been a 45-inch flat screen, huge box, comes running up to me. I've never seen anyone with this look in his eyes, just like fear and panic. And he's out of breath because he clearly ran across the entire store back to the entrance, and he's looking around. Where's the cashier? Where's the cashier? And he just runs off with the television. I've never seen anything like it. It's scary.
Messed up, man.
Isn't it? So I also wanted to point out that they also have a mobile app as well. Yeah, this is real. With all the stores and all the sales, you can add to your wish list right on the site, and then take this with you on Black Friday, and it will have all of your items on there. No worries. So if you're ready to save and you're serious about Black Fridays, you got to go to bfads.net for all the latest, and you'll see me out there with my coffee freezing, ready to save $2 on a DVD.
Well, good luck, Shaun.
Worth it. So worth it.
Other Black Friday shoppers.
Oof, it's rough. It's rough. Maybe I'll live tweet it this year. We'll see. It's scary. Okay. Well, with that, we come to the inevitable, the conclusion of this fantastic episode of Dope Panic. I am extremely satisfied. I think we had a wonderful show. Anything you guys want to say or plug before we wrap up here?
Yes.
Yes.
Really, Dan?
Maybe. We might have a new website next week. We'll see.
Hey!
Could be.
That's
It might be
exciting.
2 weeks.
It might be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You can even say you can just say eventually, and I'll be satisfied. So that's wonderful.
Oh, also, it turns
How
out
about by Black Friday? We'll set a deadline.
It's fair.
It turns out I had broken our RSS feed a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't figure out why iTunes wasn't working, and it turns out it was my fault. So that's fixed now. So if you're using iTunes to listen, it'll work again.
Excellent. Yeah, and everyone, you should absolutely, unequivocally subscribe to us, if not on iTunes, or at least through RSS on your respective app or device. Because I don't even remember when we do shows, so to get it automatically to your device is the way to go. And also, if anyone out there is watching or listening, leave us feedback on iTunes. Let us know what you think of the show, and of course, we do have an email, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. So I recommend you hit us up there. And as always, don'tpanic.io and facebook.com/don'tpanicshow. With that, I will thank Colby, Rabideau, Dan Miller, and I am Shaun Jennings. And we are going to send you off from this show by simply saying good night. We'll see you next week.